One came from the front and had here a gun. I'm going to die because a gun in my head.
Crime committed by young people getting more brazen and concerning for Baltimore residents. The latest attacks and what lawmakers in Annapolis are trying to do to stop it. The U.S. Senate releases a border deal that would significantly restrict illegal migrant crossings. A look at the bipartisan plan and whether it has enough votes to pass.
I'm Christine Frizell with a look at the U.S. military response in the Middle East and what some of those targeted are now saying.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 10.
We are following breaking news out of Baltimore County. Police say one person is hospitalized after a shooting in Rosedale, just east of the city line. Happened on Marquette Road. This was the scene around 8 o'clock tonight. Fox 45 News will bring you any updates as they become available. And developing overnight, Baltimore City police say a 47-year-old cyclist was killed in a hit and run around 12:30 this morning. It happened at the intersection of West Franklin and Payson Streets in West Baltimore. Police say the cyclist was crossing the street when he was hit. Baltimore's crash team is investigating that incident. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mary Bubala. It has been a violent 24 hours across Baltimore. A 72-year-old was shot just before 2 o'clock this morning along Erdman Avenue. The victim was taken to the hospital and is recovering tonight. Less than 2 hours later, Baltimore police say a 23-year-old was shot along Rogers Avenue in West Baltimore. Both of these incidents now under investigation. Anybody with information asked to call Metro Crime Stoppers. Well, police say someone was also shot, a 14-year-old girl, near the site of the second shooting. It's unclear if those two incidents are linked. And this comes as recent violence involving teens is leaving Baltimore residents on edge. Fox 45's Vincent Hill joins us live with some of these concerns tonight. Vincent?
Yeah, Mary, so one of those cases was the attempted carjacking of a 77-year-old man that was sent to the hospital with brain injuries. And it's not just juveniles committing crimes, but also becoming victims.
As lawmakers address juvenile crime in Annapolis, the effects of it felt on the streets of Baltimore.
And a group of teenage boys jumped out and attacked them.
In the Bolton Hill neighborhood, a 77-year-old man beaten during an attempted carjacking.
After they had been beaten, one of the boys demanded their car keys.
Perpetrated by a group of juveniles, the youngest.
A face of a 12-year-old.
Do you think if they would have just said, hey, give me your keys, that your husband would have complied and gave the keys?
Probably. But they ambushed them and, they kind of came out of the blue on them.
In East Baltimore, a similar ambush.
The aunt was robbed at gunpoint by 3 male juveniles. She's 78 years of age.
This woman describing the horrifying moments.
One came from the front and had here a gun. I'm going to die because a gun in my head.
But it's not just juveniles committing crimes, but also becoming victims. The sounds of gunshots captured on video captures the city's first homicide, 16-year-old Noah Gibson.
I love my son with all my heart. That was my baby.
Gibson, just one of several juveniles shot in Baltimore so far this year, including a 17-year-old shot in the face in the Bel Air neighborhood.
Units were following a blood trail. We lost the blood trail in the 3600 block of Clifton Park Terrace.
As the trail of juvenile crime is left behind,
there has to be consequences.
Those affected by it hope new legislation will pass and make a difference on the streets.
Right now, there's no deterrent, and there's nothing to prevent this from happening to anyone else at any time.
Now, there is a $30,000 reward for the assault on that 77-year-old man. Meanwhile, all of those cases remain unsolved. We're live tonight. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Vincent, thank you. Juvenile crime concerns are extending into Harford County, where police say a 17-year-old has been arrested following a shooting in January. The suspect faces attempted murder charges. Police say they found a loaded gun when searching his home. Last week, state Democrats unveiled their juvenile crime plan, focusing on a need for stronger consequences for young offenders. The plan would increase probation and require police to provide written documentation of youth taken into custody. It also outlines changes for the Department of Juvenile Services, including a shorter deadline for intake decisions and more staff within the ankle monitoring unit. The bill would also change a portion of the current juvenile crime code that now says children under 13 can't be charged charged with certain crimes. Among those are all firearm-related offenses, car theft, sexual assault, and animal abuse.
That these crimes seem to be consistently the issues again from police officers, from hearing from them. We're focusing on making sure that the system actually works to improve public safety and improve rehabilitation.
We need to make sure that actions have consequences, yes. And we need to make sure that our kids are getting the rehabilitation that they need.
Many Republicans say they're in lockstep with those plans.
I was encouraged by the tone of the rhetoric that we heard today, and we also appreciate that they recognize the system is broken.
Republican Senator Justin Reedy only pointed to one missing priority. He says he wishes Democrats introduce legislation that would repeal the Child Interrogation Protection Act. The current law requires an attorney to be present before juveniles can be questioned by police. Now, state's attorneys across Maryland have been raising red flags about juvenile crime for months. Many of them are in full support of this plan. Fox 45 News caught up with Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates, who says an emphasis on accountability will help curb crime.
It will have an impact because you will not see older people, older kids using and abusing younger kids. Because keep in mind, this is not once again about incarcerating young people, it's about also protecting young people.
But there are questions about a potential clash of ideas between the Democratic plan and the Department of Juvenile Services. Part of the Democrats' proposal includes extending probation for young offenders. Democrats say it's to ensure juveniles have time to complete mandated programs to help them break the cycle of violence. But DJS Secretary Vincent Schiraldi has long been an opponent of parole and probation, outlining his views in his latest book. He also made several public comments about juveniles, saying their brains aren't fully developed until they turn 25, and they shouldn't be introduced into the adult criminal justice system until that age. Now, on Friday, Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost pressed Senate President Bill Ferguson on if Schiraldi should be a roadblock to the Democrats' plan moving forward.
Are you concerned that the Secretary of DJS may not be on board with the current policies or proposals being unveiled from the General Assembly?
We were there with the House Speaker and the Governor. The Governor is the chief executive. If he has confidence moving forward, I do too. He's the one that is charging his secretaries to implement the law. And so I think our job as the legislature is to hold everybody accountable.
We sent DJS questions asking, does Secretary Schiraldi support the proposal to expand the length of probation? What about the other aspects of the proposal? Why was he not in attendance for the news conference on Wednesday? To see their response and the latest on our ongoing investigation into the department, head to our website, foxbaltimore.com. Closing arguments in Marilyn Mosby's federal mortgage fraud trial begin tomorrow, as the former Baltimore City State's attorney could face decades in prison on charges of lying on her loan application if she is found guilty. Last week, Mosby took the stand in her own defense, blaming many of her financial troubles on her ex-husband, Baltimore City Council President Nick Mosby. She says she believed Nick Mosby was up to date on the family's tax payments, but his testimony earlier in the week revealed he lied about his tax payments to the media. Attorney Kurt Nachman is not affiliated with the case, but he says Marilyn Mosby should have double-checked her tax standing.
Lawyers are supposed to know better and are supposed to read agreements that are in front of them. I saw my husband at a news conference, and he said he'd cleared things up. And she's signing forms under the penalty of perjury under oath, believing something that she has said she doesn't trust the person.
Again, closing arguments begin tomorrow, meaning the case could be in the hands of the jury early this week. Fox 45 News has been following Marilyn Mosby's legal saga for years. You can find our complete coverage online right now at foxbaltimore.com. We are following breaking news on Capitol Hill tonight as a bipartisan group of senators is unveiling a new border security proposal. The bill would give the Department of Homeland Security power to shut down the border if there are more than 4,000 average daily crossings over any 7-day period. The bill would also require a border shutdown if there are more than 8,500 crossings in a single day. For context, we were seeing as many as 10,000 crossings per day late last year. The bill would boost the number of asylum officers and also include funding for Israel and Ukraine aid. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he will bring the bill to the floor this week. Well, some Republicans say the bill doesn't go far enough. 13 Republican governors visiting Texas today for a tour of the border will have their thoughts on more specific security measures coming up in about 15 minutes. Tensions are escalating in the Middle East as the U.S. has launched more than 100 attacks in response to a drone attack that killed 3 American soldiers in Jordan. National correspondent Christine Frizzau brings us up to speed as lawmakers are split over how to proceed.
Another day, another round of strikes in the Middle East. U.S. officials reporting destroying an anti-ship cruise missile in a Houthi-controlled area of Yemen, following strikes on more than 30 other targets in Yemen launched by American and British forces, and the initial more than 100 attacks on 85 targets in Iraq and Syria.
The Pentagon believes we had good effect, that we hit what we were aiming at.
These efforts in response to the attack in Jordan that killed 3 American service members. Their remains returned home on Friday, just hours before the first military response. Top Biden administration officials, though, making clear there will be more to come, as Republicans characterize the response as too little, too late.
Iran is trying to drive us out of the Mideast, and the response we're giving is inadequate to the task. They do not believe or fear that we will hit what matters most to them, their oil infrastructure or their leadership.
Okay. Others blame President Biden for pushing to resurrect the Iranian nuclear deal.
By doing that, he lifted the sanctions. All the money flowed to all of the terrorist proxies around the region, and now we're paying the price of that.
The military strategy ahead, a delicate dance Biden administration officials insist is still the best path forward.
The United States will step up and respond when our forces are attacked, and the United States also is not looking for a wider war in the Middle East.
But Iraq has said the attacks blatantly violate the country's sovereignty, with top officials in Iran and Yemen warning they will lead to more escalation of tensions and instability in the region. I'm Christine Frizzau reporting.
It is Black History Month, and Fox 45 News is celebrating our champions of courage. Coming up, how one local leader is inspiring the next generation through her work with the Girl Scouts.
Things are about to get a little more active. So far, it's been a very quiet weekend, but we are tracking some changes coming your way. Lots of cooler air around, but it's going to return back to some warmer temperatures before we see our pattern shift. A couple storm systems I'm tracking. We'll let you know when they're set to arrive, what they could bring us coming up.
47-year-old Brian Dellin is now facing a first-degree murder charge in connection to the killing of a trans woman in Bel Air back in December. Dellin already faced 3 other charges. Harford County police say he was arguing with Megan Riley Lewis in an apartment parking lot when he shot and killed her. Dellin is being held without bail. Well, a fierce winter storm is thrashing California with high wind and severe flooding, hammering the San Francisco Bay Area today. Evacuation orders are in place across much of the coast as the storm makes its way south towards Los Angeles. Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency, and officials across Southern California say this storm is a serious threat.
We've distributed over 100 tons of sand in the last 24 hours to our local fire stations for residents to utilize and pick up. Additional helicopter pilots and flight crews.
If we're asking you to leave, this is serious, and we feel that it is very important for your safety and your family's safety that you get out, and you get out now.
Just some frightening pictures out on the West Coast. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali following the storm's path. Gerard, they are getting pounded.
Absolutely. You know, I was there last year covering those storm systems out there, getting 30, 40-foot waves crashing ashore. I was just off the coast near San Francisco. So things were powerful, and they're back again. This is the winter storm season. Hey, it's got some good things to it. This helps replenish the snowpack, the reservoirs. This is where they get the majority of their moisture. Now, that system, believe it or not, is going to have an impact on us as we head into the coming days. Not for a while, though. High pressure's in control right now over our region, which means it is calm, it is beautiful, it's sunny. Another pretty strong storm system is hammering the southeastern United States, so we're the lucky ones right now, and we nailed it by getting this out right on the weekend. Okay, so temperatures pretty chilly right now. We're barely just hanging on to some near freezing numbers in a few spots just to the south. It's already ticking over. The one thing we are watching, some coastal flood advisories, and this is likely going to happen day after day. We've got some higher than normal tides. So areas that normally flood, keep in mind those high tides, at least an hour or two each side. You may have some water inundation there. All right, other than that, it's quiet, and we're going to stay that way. Tonight, again, dropping down to the upper 20s to low 30s. Tomorrow, it's back to seeing more of the beautiful sunshine. Temperatures up near 50 degrees or so, so it's almost a carbon copy. Each day, we're going to step our temperatures up a little by little, so we should easily still reach around the mid-40s by Tuesday, but then it gets even warmer from there. So now let's show you what we are tracking. That storm system out in California is going to have an impact on us. It will be at a much weaker state by the time it gets here. There's that one that's down there now. It's just going to scoot right off the southeastern United States, not bother us. We're going to continue to be in the northerly winds, keeping it a little chillier around here. But the winds are going to turn around. We'll be out of the south as we get later into the week. Temperatures will come up ahead of the storm system. It's much weaker at this point. In fact, we'll be lucky if we see any rain out of this. It's going to be a mostly dry frontal passage. So you'll notice a shift in the winds a little bit. A few degrees cooler, but mostly dry. Another system behind it, though, may have more moisture to bring us. So expect that as we head into Monday, especially Sunday, Monday. The timing on this is still up for debate, but the next one likely going to have a better shot at rainfall. All right, so 7-day forecast, mostly good news through the week. It does step down again, a little bit cooler with those northerly winds on Tuesday, but we see our temperatures recovering. It gets cloudier with the moisture moving in on Friday, and then Saturday is our next chance for some rainfall. Sunday may be a little drizzly as well as those storm systems approach. Hey, by the way, make sure you come out and say hello to me. I'll be at the Baltimore Health Expo. In fact, many of us will be. I'll be starting in the morning, and I know it's a great event. It helps benefit a lot of people. I'd love to meet you for the first time. I'm going to be out there signing pictures. I know we've got a green screen like the one I'm using right now. You'll even be able to try out. So come out and say hello. I know that's going to be going on all day long. Mary.
Fox 45 News is celebrating Black History Month through our Champions of Courage series. Each week, we're highlighting local role models who are sharing the teachings of Martin Luther King Jr. with the next generation. Fox 45's Olivia Dans introduces us to this week's Champion of Courage, empowering young girls through the Girl Scouts.
Meet Candace Almond.
Candace has an effervescent personality.
Those who already know her, like her colleague Danita Terry, say her personality is contagious.
She is very positive, very upbeat, and very joyful.
Candace's story begins in Baltimore, where she was born and raised, joining Girl Scouts when she was a young girl in elementary school.
I learned leadership,
sisterhood, and how to have fun.
Those lessons helped shape Candace, and 12 years ago, she found herself going back to those roots.
They were looking to expand what they do in community and outreach with girls who don't have access to traditional Girl Scouting.
As the director of Community Girl Initiatives and Partnerships with Girl Scouts of Central Maryland,
it doesn't matter your zip code.
Candace and her team bring programs and unique opportunities to girls in Title I schools in Baltimore.
We may be the only hour where somebody comes and is pouring into them, is allowing them to be themselves.
Why do you think this age group is so critical and important to really instill some of these values that you're teaching them?
So I think it's important to work with girls at that early age, to impress them young and let them take the fire and blaze the trail.
Teaching girls in kindergarten through 8th grade how to have confidence and courage. Those lessons Candace had to learn herself.
Candace is a person who has a lot to offer and has had challenges, but she has not let her challenges reduce her potential or the impact that she can have.
Candace is a 2-time cancer survivor, first diagnosed when she was only in her 20s.
Thinking of winning, thinking of victory, keeping that positive mindset.
That mindset now carries over into everything she does in this chapter of life.
Candace is a great asset. She is a great asset, and her heart is in everything that she does. Girl Scouts, her church, her cancer support work, Stevenson College, being a professor. She's all in.
That mindset is just one part of what makes her a champion of courage.
I feel like I was created to help, created to shine, created to pour, created to speak life. And being able to do that as your job, it's a blessing to me.
Reporting in Baltimore, I'm Olivia Dance, Fox 45 News.
The Men's World Cup is coming to the U.S. in 2026, but where will the final be played? Still ahead, FIFA releases some key details about soccer's biggest event. The 2026 Men's World Cup final is coming to the Big Apple. FIFA announces MetLife Stadium will host the match. The stadium is home to the NFL's New York Giants and Jets. It is one of 11 host venues in the U.S., along with 3 in Mexico and 2 in Canada. The final will be played on July 19th, 2026. This marks the second time the U.S. will host a World Cup final. The 1994 match was played at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. And if you're looking to watch Team USA at the World Cup, you will need to catch a flight. The Americans will play 2 group matches in Los Angeles and a 3rd in Seattle. Philadelphia is the closest host city to us. It will host 6 matches. The World Cup schedule will be released once more of the teams are finalized. Well, still ahead, the battle over border security intensifies in Texas. The governor's sharp comments as full measure towards a controversial stretch of fencing. Let's go live to the Capitol, where a Senate committee is unveiling new border legislation which would cap daily illegal immigration and provide more migrant services at the border. It also includes increased funding for Ukraine and Israel. The bill needs 60 votes to pass and faces strong opposition from some Republicans, including former President Donald Trump. Now, several Republican governors toured the border today. Texas Governor Greg Abbott pushed back on a U.S. Supreme Court ruling that allows the Biden administration to take down razor wire on border fences.
And we are here to send a loud and clear message that we are banding together to fight to ensure that we will be able to maintain our constitutional guarantee that states will be able to defend against any type of imminent danger or an invasion.
A group of Democratic state lawmakers held their own press conference in opposition to Governor Abbott, accusing him of inciting potential violence for repeatedly calling the immigration crisis an invasion. Well, tonight, full measure Shell Atkinson is in Eagle Pass, Texas, where state lawmakers remain at odds with the Biden administration.
The local sheriff, Maverick County's Tom Schmerber, agrees to get us into the restricted area bordering the Rio Grande. Barbed wire put up by the state Tattered clothes mark a popular route.
Trump years, I know that he kept them on the other side of Mexico, and it stopped. It was stopped. Then when this administration came in, it's like they opened the borders. Now we have this new president. She's going to open the doors and open the arms, and they started crossing.
Hola, bienvenido. ¿De dónde es? This group tells us they've just come in from Honduras and Venezuela.
If you were to catch somebody who had come into the U.S. illegally, are you allowed to arrest them, hold them, send them back?
No, not now, not right now.
Next, we meet up with Sergeant Rennie Cordova from the Texas Department of Public Safety.
And you've been here 20 years. How would you characterize today's situation over time?
1,000% difference. From when I first got here, you would never, ever see this many people crossing the river.
Up the river a ways, Cordova shows us new state additions since the Biden surge. Besides coils of barbed wire, new open spaces where there used to be brush.
Now, it makes it a little bit more difficult for them to, they have no place to hide here.
So all the space was cleared. How long ago?
It's been within the past year and a half at least.
And then this is new.
Yes, the anti-climbing fence, in order to make it much harder for them not just to get underneath the wire, but they'll just look at it and see that it's more complicated now.
The state paid for this, not the federal government.
Yes. Everything that we have here along the border, everything's state funded.
But this dynamic is heading for a dramatic shift March 5th. A new Texas law will make illegal immigration a state crime. Local police will be able to make arrests rather than having to turn people over to Border Patrol, and the courts can order them back to Mexico.
What are your thoughts as to what the state is trying to do when the federal government is not doing? Does the state have a right to secure its own border?
Well, I think basically what the governor's trying to do, he's trying to protect the citizens, because we're being invaded, basically, here. And this is actually the back door into the United States.
The Justice Department and other advocates for illegal immigrants are suing Texas over the new law that will let local police arrest, saying the law violates the Constitution. For Full Measure, I'm Cheryl Atkinson.
One of the more eventful weeks in Baltimore sports history has come to an end. Morgan and Rocco recap the changes for the Ravens and big moves from the O's next on Sports Unlimited.
The Road to the Big Game is sponsored by Royal Farms.
The big game now 1 week away, and a die-hard Kansas City fan is transforming his yard into a shrine to show off his love for his favorite team. Missouri artist Jeff Parsons says he's using his passion to bring Kansas City fans together during the season of glory. And he truly thought really of everything. You can see Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, and of course a shirtless, there it is, Jason Kelce. Parsons says he's humbled by his community's reaction to his work of art.
I don't know if I'm good at it. It's just something I really enjoy doing now. At the end of the year, you can look at this and say, yeah, that was the 2023 season. It's an ever-evolving work of art. And so finally we land here.
Well, this isn't Parsons' first time in the news. He made headlines with his Taylor Swift Eras Tour themed display last year. And that's all for the news at 10. I'm Mary Bubala. Thanks so much for watching. Morgan Atzett and Rocco DeSangro join us now with Sports Unlimited. Morgan and Rocco.
Thank you, Mary. Come up tonight on Sports Unlimited, a busy 7 days for our pro teams in this city.
Yeah, and the Ravens have coaching turnover weeks out from free agency as the Orioles are heading towards new ownership. Change is coming after 3 decades of the Angelos family owning the O's. This statement from the Baltimore billionaire buying the team that sent Birdland into a frenzy.
But nothing is changing with GM Mike Elias. He's still working his magic days out from spring training by trading for an ace. More on the Corbin Burns deal.
And John Harbaugh will have to work hard to replace 3 of his former assistants. Why there could be more on the way, that's next on Sports Unlimited.
Look away, Ravens fans. The Chiefs have arrived in Las Vegas. This time next week, we'll know if it's Kansas City or San Francisco holding the Lombardi Trophy. Should have been us. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Sports Unlimited. He's Rocco DeSangro. I'm Morgan Atzett. What a week it was since the last time we met you on a Sunday between the Ravens, Orioles, and Caitlin Clark in College Park. We have that all for you.
Whole lot of news going on, Morgan. And that's an understatement. But first, some Ravens did have one more game this season, if we can call it that. The Pro Bowl games. It's a flag football game and events as well. AFC taking on the NFC, and this one went down to the wire. Check out Justin Matabike, just showing off the bunnies in this event. Getting up there to the actual game, NFC driving with the lead. Look who it is. Kyle Hamilton has something to say about that. Comes up with a huge interception for the AFC, and that sets up a potential game-winning drive. 4th and goal. It all comes down to this. C.J. Stroud, back to pass. His pass to Keenan Allen falls incomplete, and with